Merrick Garland, the world's second worst attorney general, I still place Eric Holder at the top of the list. He appeared in front of Congress where he was browbeaten about his horrible tenure as attorney general of the United States. He, of course, attempted to defend himself. He said he will not be intimidated. He's just pursuing justice. Now, you can name off the top of your head half a dozen times when Merrick Garland absolutely did not pursue justice. Whether it is his attempt to cut a sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden, or whether it's his latest attempts, for example, to hide the tape of his own DOJ interviewing our no longer sentient vegetable president of the United States. But he's out there saying that he's doing the Lord's work. This is a man who stands for justice. Merrick Garland. Here we go.
These repeated attacks on the Justice Department are unprecedented and they are unfounded. These attacks have not and they will not influence our decision-making. I view contempt as a serious matter, but I will not jeopardize the ability of our prosecutors and agents to do their jobs effectively in future investigations. I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We will continue to do our jobs free from political influence, and we will not back down from defending democracy.
Merrick Garland doing the Al Pacino routine from And Justice for All. You're out of order. This entire court is out of order. No one believes you, dude. No one believes you. The Department of Justice has been plagued by corruption since at least the Clinton administration. If you go all the way back to Janet Reno, certainly was plagued by corruption during the Obama administration, where the Civil Rights Department of the Justice Department went out of its way to do heavy political dirty work in favor of Barack Obama's political agenda, where Eric Holder literally declared himself the president's wingman. And I love it when Democrats are like, how dare you, sir, impugn the dignity of the Department of Justice. You literally did that nonstop while Donald Trump was president. You literally wouldn't stop doing it. You said that Bill Barr was corrupt. You said Jeff Sessions was corrupt, even though Jeff Sessions literally recused himself and allowed the Mueller investigation to go forward. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, Merrick Garland. All of these supposed institutionalists who have spent the last 3 years destroying these institutions and their credibility, going out there and being like, but why don't you respect the institutions? Respect them. Respect them right now, or you're destroying our democracy, TM. Capital O, capital D, our democracy. I don't believe you. You're hypocrites and you're liars. But this is the shtick. So here's Merrick Garland saying, democracy can't continue if you continue to attack the DOJ. Weird. I feel like democracy, in fact, might involve attacking the DOJ sometimes. It feels like democracy might involve, say, criticism of executive branch agencies that involve unelected bureaucrats doing the dirty work of enforcing the political agenda of the president of the United States. That might be democracy a little bit. In fact, it might be democracy when the House of Representatives, an elected branch, holds to account the Attorney General, who's never been elected by anybody. But again, this is all clownish crap about how anybody who opposes the Biden administration is the true tyrant. True democracy is when you just give all authority to Joe Biden and never ask any questions again. That's of course, what democracy looks like.
We intend to aggressively investigate and prosecute threats against our public officials, including members of Congress, of which the numbers have actually exploded in the past couple of years. Our democracy cannot continue if the people who make the democracy run are afraid, if they make their decisions based on fear of being threatened or of being assaulted. No democracy can survive under those circumstances, and we will do everything we can in our power to investigate, deter, and prosecute anyone who makes threats against public servants.
2 words, Derek Chauvin. Seriously, that dude is in jail because of public intimidation, including by the current president of the United States and his vice president. All these people pretending that the justice system is working absolutely apolitically. Merrick Garland, what a joke. So Merrick Garland was asked about whether there had been any communications between the DOJ and, say, local prosecutors in Atlanta or Manhattan. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation about the political prosecution of Donald Trump in New York, Alvin Bragg bringing a completely specious charge that was predicated upon a federal charge over which he has no jurisdiction, or Letitia James in New York, or Fani Willis in Atlanta, who, when she's not stooping the other prosecutors who she hired specifically for the purpose, apparently, is bringing specious RICO charges. So the question was asked by Congressman Matt Gaetz, do you guys have any communications with these local prosecutors? And Garland's like, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis' office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
If you make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident.
Matt Gaetz is correct here. He is absolutely correct. If the DOJ wants to show no coordination, they could say there are no documents. There have been no such communications. They're not saying that. Like you can lodge that request. I guarantee you that Merrick Garland knows whether there are documents or not. And this is all, it's also tiresome and it's also childish. Merrick Garland is a political hack. He's been a political hack since the day he became Attorney General of the United States. Thank God Mitch McConnell stopped him from being on the Supreme Court of the United States to join his fellow left-wing hacks like Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sonia Sotomayor. Merrick Garland was then asked about whether there was evidence tampering in the Trump case because there were some photos, for example, that came from Mar-a-Lago of the FBI having spread out the evidence and put top secret folders down on the floor to make it look as though the documents said right on them in giant letters, top secret. Here was Jim Jordan asking Merrick Garland about this.
He was the best pick for the most high-profile investigation ever?
He was independent. He was nonpartisan. He had never held a political office. He was never appointed in a political office.
Was he your first choice?
He had a long career as a career
Was he your
prosecutor.
first choice?
I'm not going to go into the questions.
Did you know him before you picked him?
I did not.
You never worked with him?
I did not.
Did you meet with him prior to announcing his selection and tell him what was going on?
Of course I did.
What happened in that meeting?
I met with him. I asked him if he would be willing to do this. We talked about my understandings of the role of this office, which are on the public record. That's all.
Did he ask for the job?
This is not a job I don't think anybody asks for. I'm sorry.
No, but that's not the question I asked you. I said, did Jack Smith ask for the job?
He did not ask me for the job, no.
Okay. Then Garland went on to suggest that he's never listened to this famous tape now of Joe Biden and special counsel Robert Hur. So you'll recall, Robert Hur was the prosecutor who looked into Joe Biden's mishandling of classified information. You'll also remember that the entire transcript of that interview was released. And that transcript is just as bad as the Time magazine transcript that I read you a little bit earlier. It's filled with gobbledygook and nonsense, absolute incoherence from a babbling buffoon. And so everybody rightly was like, can we hear the tape? Especially because Robert Hur had let the president of the United States off without charges by effectively declaring that he was unfit to face trial, that he would have been acquitted on the basis that he is, in fact, an elderly buffoon no longer in control of his faculties or his bowels. And so people are like, well, can we listen to the tape? And Merrick Garland was like, no, you can't listen to that tape. How dare you even ask for that tape? So according to Garland, he has never listened to that audio at all. Here he was being asked about it.
Have you listened to the audio recording?
I have not, because there's no reason for me to listen to it in order to make the determinations that I had to make. We had the special counsel describe in detail his explanations for his determinations.
So let me, I don't understand how you can kind of sit before the congressional committee and kind of arbitrate what's indistinguishable from the transcripts if you're not even sure what's on the tapes themselves.
I'm not doing it on my own. I have...
so you're saying other people have listened to it within the department?
Within the department, and the special counsel has listened to it, and the special counsel had every interest in ensuring that the transcript that he produced in order to do his investigation would be accurate.
Okay, well, you haven't listened to the tape, so why don't you release it, though? That's the question. Why can't we hear any of it?
We have made clear that we will not provide audio recordings from which the transcripts that you already have were created. Releasing the audio would chill cooperation with the department in future investigations, and it could influence witnesses' answers if they thought the audio of their law enforcement interviews would be broadcast to Congress and the public.
It could influence their answers? What if you released the transcript? Couldn't that influence their answers? This is all such hackish garbage. This goes to the key problem for the Biden campaign. Joe Biden and his friends have undermined American institutions in absolutely critical ways. They've undermined American allies in absolutely critical ways. They are very bad, in other words, at the president thing. And that is why they say that a convicted felon, 34-time convicted felon, is currently running up on Joe Biden, is currently running ahead of Joe Biden. That is not a coincidence. That is a basic reality. And it is because Joe Biden is horrible at this. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.